Welcome, everyone, to the La+Jolla+Cosmetic podcast. I'm your hostess, Monique Ramsey. Today, I have a fun guest in the studio. Her name is Caroline. She's a real patient who had surgery with Dr. Luke Swistun, and she's going to talk about her journey to actually have her implants removed. So, welcome to you, Caroline.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for being willing to share your story.
Yeah, it means a lot to me.
Good. So, just getting us started off, tell us a little bit about yourself and then maybe go into when you decided to originally get breast implants and why.
Okay, so my name's Caroline. I live here in San Diego. I'm a yoga teacher, energy healer, mentor, mystic, all the things. And I got implants about 10 years ago. It's been 11 now, 2013. And I remember there was a woman a friend of a friend who had just gotten implants, and I was like, you can do that. 10 years ago, it was a little less common. I had some insecurity with my chest size at the time and really wanted to, feel more like a woman. So at the time, I thought what would be best and most exciting for me was getting breast implants. So that's what I did.
And did you have saline or silicone?
I had silicone, 400cc silicone,
Oh,
high
wow.
profile. I know, right? It was like a big size. Yeah.
Well, and everybody's body's a little different. Like
Mhm.
400 cc's on one person might look not even that big,
Yeah.
depending on
It's true.
your frame and how your body is shaped inside. And
Yeah.
and how tall are you?
I was just gonna tell you that I'm 5'1".
Okay.
So yeah, 400cc was a little bit bigger on me, but I could dress them down or dress them up. And I also went into being a stripper right after I got them. So it was like it was
They
like
were
the
your money
perfect
makers.
size for they were my money makers. I will say that. That's actually a big part of this story too on the explant. But yeah, I was really happy with the size I had and yeah, was happy with them for most of the time.
Well, that's good.
Mhm.
So then when was having implants sort of what you expected, kind of how it would be and how it would feel?
Mhm. Yeah, I was so young. I was 19 when I decided to get that. I was like, "Let's go." And yeah, it was what I expected and even more. It was, I had so much fun. I it gave me a lot of confidence, pretty instantly. I was already a confident kind of gal, but it really heightened my confidence at the time and how feminine I felt in my body, let's say. So I had them for 11 years. But since I got my explant September 23, it was 10 years, right? And
Okay.
the first few years, it was like, oh my gosh, so high on my implants. I was like, I love these. And I was also a dancer, an exotic dancer, and so it was everything was just flowing with them, and I loved them. And then I guess on year 7, 8 is when I started to feel like, huh, some things feels off, and they started to get really heavy. So I think
Mm.
I was kind of going through a little bit of a consciousness shift, and I was just changing. I was a different woman 10 years
Mm.
ago from the woman I am today.
Yeah.
And even the woman I was a few years ago, woman evolved, new versions of you. And I never ever thought that I would stop resonating with the breast implants that I had, ever. It was just so much a part of my identity, from being a stripper. I also felt like a little bit of a poster child for implants because so many women I knew had gotten them after seeing mine. And it was just the extra push they needed to be like, yes, I want to get mine now. So, and then what happened was, universe, source, spirit, God, whatever your higher power is, whoever's watching this, started to bring women into my field who had just gotten explants and they were sharing about it. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little peculiar. I'd see them. And it reminded me of when I first was about to get my implants when I was younger, where I would see a woman with implants and be like, oh my gosh, she looks so great. I want that. And now I was seeing women who had just gotten their explant with their smaller chest. And I would be like, oh my gosh, she looks so good. And I was just I could see a different glow. And I was just feeling pulled to that. And I was also like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of women with explants. Now this is so interesting. And I've been thinking about this, but I kept pushing it down. And I remember saying, okay, I'm just going to wait until I get sick to get them out. It literally was
Caroline, really?
right?
Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense in some ways. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It was giving when you're in a relationship that isn't really, you're not resonating, and you're like, let me just wait until something gets really bad. It was like giving that kind of energy, which I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
be honest, like it's human, we do this, And so amidst that time, I'm seeing all these women. The explant era was on the rise, and 10 years ago it was the implant era. And
Right.
obviously, there's still women getting implants now, and that's beautiful, and that's their choice. But because like all the women I knew that got explants, they had BII, breast implant illness, and they were sick. And there were some symptoms I was having, but I was like, maybe these aren't from the implants. I don't know. It wasn't like anything strong enough to be like, I need to get these implants out because I'm sick.
And well, what kind of were some of those symptoms where
Yeah.
you were able to sort of maybe go, oh, that's maybe nothing?
Yeah. There was like inflammation. And I feel from what I see, like that's like the body starting to say, like, okay, it's time to get these out. There was like some skin things, like just like spots around the implants and like some skin stuff popping up. And I didn't notice this till after the explant, but like my eyes got so white after I got them out. Like people were coming up to me, your eyes are so white. And I'm like, what? Because like I'm so used to seeing myself every day. So apparently, like that is something that shifted a lot after the surgery. That I'm like, So it's interesting because I say I didn't have breast implant illness, and I just like to share that for anyone who like was where I was at, where they were feeling a pull to get them out, but they were like also where I was at. We're like, well, I'm not sick like everyone else who got them out, right? And so I was kind of like a hybrid. I was like, well, it's not like I'm not super sick, but once I got them out, I was like, okay, some inflammation went down. All right, well, I lost a few pounds. My body started to release some weight. I think a little bit of inflammation there. The
Mhm.
eyes started to change.
Isn't that interesting? Like what things will be different. And so, like, what was the thing that maybe pushed you over the edge to actually say, I'm going to make a consultation with a
Mm.
surgeon about this?
Yeah, so I had a couple friends who had got theirs removed. So I asked a few of these women, I'm like, where do you get your explant? And started to gather, the doctors in San Diego. And one of them, she had seen Swistun. And I was just like, well, let me just book a consultation. Cause I like, it's still like my human mind was kind of grappling with this new truth of like, okay, it's time. So I kind of followed that pull and really trusted myself and told myself, there's no pressure. I heard great things about Swiston. And I was like, it doesn't hurt to go in for a consultation. That way I know all the details for when I am ready.
Right, right. And how did you feel about that consultation experience?
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Let's just say I went into the consultation thinking I was going to wait like a year or so. I walked out of the consultation, I believe, booking my surgery date.
Oh, really?
It might have been right after the consultation or a week later, but I was like, "Oh, this is happening sooner." And it wasn't due to like Swiston wasn't like pressuring at all. He was like so incredible. I'll get into that consultation in a moment, but it allowed me to really just drop in and to learn about like, okay, what would this look like? And learn about it and without like over analyzing.
Yeah, I think we tend to do that so much. And, we're instead of listening to our bodies, that we will talk ourselves out of whatever it is or give a rational explanation like, oh, it's nothing, it's this or that, or I just didn't sleep well. It's like really like you're talking about dropping into that consultation. You have to like drop into yourself and
Mm.
sort of say, what is my body saying? Because your brain does want to take over and it's not always right.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Yeah, listening to your body. I had seen also a couple other consultations with surgeons, and the way I felt in Swiston's consultation was just different. He was so welcoming, so present, like just so here,
Mhm.
not there. And that was a big difference that I had noticed with him versus other consultations I'd gone to. Everyone's work was great, but Swiston just like I really chose to go forth with him because of the way he showed up. And I felt very like held, even after what I don't know, like a mini consultation I was here. It wasn't super long. And I'm the kind of client who asks, so many questions. I have so many questions, and I love that about me, but also it requires a very patient, present surgeon. And he was so patient, so present. And I was honestly like blown away by how like safe and held I felt. And he was like, no pressure either. He was just sharing with me all the things, answering questions. That's all. Didn't didn't feel an ounce of pressure at all. And it's almost like it almost felt like he was just there to educate me and to share with me how it works and whether or not I was going to get it done with him or someone else. He was just, supporting me. And I really love that about Swistun.
Yeah, he's really special, and he connects so well with his patients, and I love that you said he's present, because that is so true. He locks in and he's there. And I think as women, we go to have doctor's appointments, and you can tell when that doctor stops listening. You can tell. And I'm like you. I need to know all the things. I want to tell them all the details, and I want to hear all the details. I want both, And you can tell when they just are kind of phoning it in. And I've always seen with Dr. Swistun, he's just very there with you, and he wants to help. He genuinely just wants to help.
Yeah, exactly. Like having that person who's there hearing you out. And Swistun, as well as all of the women who, checked me in and took my before and after photos of the surgery, like anesthesiologists, when I was getting ready to go into surgery. Everyone is just so present. And I know that it's because they're an extension of him and working in his office. So I feel like Swistun just his energy and the way he presented himself and everyone in the office really was a big factor in me deciding like, oh, I'm actually getting this done sooner than I thought. Like, why would I even wait?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you really did like move right along. Yeah. So in that time period, kind of in the waiting before, you had your consultation, you decide to have the surgery. What procedures did you two agree on? And was there anything you were nervous about sort of going into surgery?
I was really nervous. There was a lot of tears of grief. It was like I said, like it feels like you're getting ready to leave a relationship. And for me, it was a 10-year one. And it was just like, yeah, there was so many different emotions. And so I was just really tender and like gave myself a lot of grace. I would have days where I was so excited and I was like, get these things out of me, like right now. Not even like, I hate these. I was like, I love you guys and you need to get out. Like, we're done.
I love you, but
I love you and
it's not you, it's me. Oh, but it is you. It is you, actually.
It's literally, it's not yet. It is you, but okay, yes. And so we're parting ways. And so I'd have days of just like really excited and like I'd be like crying tears of joy. And then other days I'd be like in like a little like mini like portal of like grief, sadness, like, and like people could help me and I had friends that could help me hold space. I had, a mentor I was working with, but no one can really understand unless they've been through it. And so there were a couple women who had walked through it and had their explants, and I was able to reach out to them and talk to them. And Swistun, it was helpful. Like he would answer any questions I had because he had seen so many women go through it and help them. But ultimately, yeah, it was like such a beautiful homecoming journey. And in the time before surgery, yeah, I was excited, scared, nervous, anxious, very anxious. And I was kind of just riding the waves of the human experience, knowing that it was all perfect and that I was going to be able to handle whatever because it was my intuition guiding me the whole time. And a big thing that like my mind was grappling with was like, do I get a lift? Do I not get a lift? And so it was like
Oh.
on top of the anxiousness, the grief, the sadness, and the excitement was like this question, like, should I get a lift or not? So it was like adding a little bit, a little
Yeah,
bit to the mix. And like, for whoever's watching this, I want you to know, like, it might not be like my experience. You could just be stoked the whole time because, like, towards the end, I was like, I'm so fucking excited. But I just want to make it realistic. Like, it's okay to be grieving a part of you. Like, this is good. It's normal.
Well, this is a really good point, because when I've talked to people who've had surgery before, and specifically breast implants, they become a part of you, right? So at the beginning, when you first get them, it's like, oh, that you have the sensations of something different and something new. And then after a certain amount of time, you kind of don't think, at least this is what I've been told. I've never had implants, but that they just become part of you. It's less about these things in me and more about just me. And it's like, I've been like this all the time. And so that whole kind of grieving process a little bit, and having that emotion because it's something that is part of you now, and it's not going to be anymore.
Yeah, it's like letting go of part of you, making sure you're making the right choices. But yeah, am I making the right choice? Then it was like about the lift or not? Like, do I get a lift or not? And so that was a big question.
How and maybe when did you decide you did want to do the lift, and what was the factor that maybe helped you make that decision?
Yeah, so I didn't need a lift. Swistun was like, "You don't need to get a lift," and he's like, "You could, but you don't need to with like your case." So like technically, like all of the signs pointed of like, no, I don't need to get a lift. But I knew that I would have regretted for my own case because my implants were so big and my skin was so stretched out. And like, yeah, I trust my body. I can go back to normal and yada, yada. But I personally was like, I'd rather get a lift and like, I wanted it to look like as if I never had implants. And for me, it was like I could have gone either way. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. It like it turned out great. I have like full sensitivity in like my areolas, nothing shifted there. And they look like even better than when I didn't have like even better than 10 years ago. Like my cute little perky boobs, like they look, I'm like, wait, it's like an upgrade. So I was like, and I didn't expect like myself to be this happy and stoked like on them. So I'm really glad about that.
So after the surgery, you wake up in recovery. Did you feel different right then, or did it take a
Yes.
little bit of time?
Oh my gosh. I have like full body chills because so when I woke up from the explant surgery, I just remember saying, I'm so happy. And it's funny because 10 years ago when I got my implants in, the first words as well when I woke up from my implant surgery were, I'm so happy. And so it was like a beautiful homecoming and like I could literally cry. It was just like, wow, like it took me 10 years to like to get to this place of like self-love in my journey, my
Mhm.
personal journey, because I wanna make that clear. So not everyone's meant to get their explant or not, but, like, for me and, like, that was a big thing, the homecoming of my self-love journey, and so I just woke up. There was a nurse there taking care of me. I was so happy surgery was done, and my sisters were about to walk in to take care of me and take me home, and I just felt, like, so light and so happy, and I looked down and I was just like, "Whoa." They're out. Like, they're out. Like, it's done, and it was just like, wow. There was a little bit of pain, but, like, I'm a woman, like, we can
Yeah,
we can handle, a good amount of pain, we're here
this is
for children.
true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt very held after surgery and very excited for what the new journey of me.
So your sisters take you home, and
Mhm.
how were the first couple days? Did you have to come back right away, or did he just check in with you by phone? And what was that first week sort of like?
Yeah, so I was pretty out of it the first 24 hours. I had my sisters taking care of me. I had both sisters there, and it was yeah, it was just, like, a lot of resting. I would, like, get random, like, bursts of energy, but I couldn't really do much, so just, like, literally, like, on bed rest. I remember 2 days in, I, like, started to get swollen on my right boob, and I'm just gonna share this with you, and but started to get swollen on my right boob, and I was, like, kind of moving around a lot, and I
Mm.
messaged him, and he's like, "Oh, come on in tomorrow," and I had to go into a second surgery.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we
So
don't
did you have like a little bleeder?
yes.
Like,
It
yeah.
was
So
nothing to be
that,
alarmed of, but
right. But it can happen. And
yeah.
it can happen with a lot of different kinds of surgeries, not just what you had.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
and do you think maybe it was because you were moving around?
100%. I was like because, like, I was
We're-
I was on, like, the medications, and I was like I didn't feel any pain or anything, and I was like, "Wow, like, this is like, I feel so good. I feel, like, so alive," and, like, so I was moving around a little bit more. I was like, you know, like like, just doing different things that, like, I didn't really need to be doing around the house, and so, I think it's important for anyone who's, like, getting has help to, like, even though you think you can do a lot, don't do it and just relax and, like, allow yourself to receive.
yeah, and it's hard though, right? It's hard if you feel good not to
Mhm.
do things because we are so all ingrained on like accomplishing things or I mean, it's silly, but yeah, you got to rest because even though you feel good, your body's still really going through a lot to heal. And so that little bleeder, so one side ends up getting like a hematoma is what they're called.
Yes.
And was that painful at all?
So yeah, it was like a little bit like, ow, a little bit painful, but we got it taken care of. Swistun was so responsive. I could like literally text him at any
Oh, that's
time and
nice.
he would get back to me. Yeah, it was so nice. He was like just so there for me and I felt so held. And it was pretty just like simple. I mean, the recovery was pretty, lax. It was more emotional than it was like physical. I couldn't move that much. I had the pumps like on my sides for a few days.
Yeah, they put the drains in, right?
Yeah, the drains. But yeah, I'd say the first couple weeks I was resting a lot. I wasn't super hungry. I was drinking lots of water and I was just like so eager to see like what they were going to look like, but I was like not yet ready to like see them.
So when did you take your first peek? Was it like when you were at home or was it when you were, in the office for a visit?
I think I peeked down a little bit like a few days after. I just like looked down and I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this too good to be true?" And so when I went into the office like a few days later, I think he came in and like I got to like see them and I like looked in the mirror and I was like, "Wow, they look like even better than I expected."
Oh,
I'm like,
nice.
"Wow." It like I was making a joke. I was like, "I look like I have like little fake A cups." Little like perky boobies.
Perky,
Yeah.
yeah. Was
Yeah.
there any thing that surprised you sort of afterwards or that you weren't expecting, kind of about maybe the whole surgical journey?
I was surprised with how smooth it was, how relaxed everyone here was about it. And it was so beautiful. I was like surprised at how happy I was with them as well.
That's so nice. And kind of at the point where they made their big debut, your new girls.
It reminded me so much of how when you get implants put in, breast implants for any woman who like has gone that experience, you're really excited. You try on all these new clothes and you go like bra shopping and new bikini shopping and like you're just a whole new woman. And it literally, I had that experience in reverse. Like when I got them out, I was like, wanting to like try on my shirts that like never really fit my like fake boobs. I want to go shopping, like new bikinis.
Right.
And, a lot of my clothes still fit, it just looks different, but
Uh-huh.
it all looked really good.
So were there any like pieces of advice you would say to somebody who's maybe in similar shoes as you?
I would tell for the woman who's watching this, who's feeling into, should I get my explant or not? I'd say to really just sink into yourself and listen to your intuition. And so, yeah, for the woman feeling into it, you can really trust your intuition. It's normal if you're a little nervous, it's expected. And that's what
Right.
happens when there's big changes. And
Mhm.
also, you can be excited and nervous at the same time. And to prepare, I would just have like someone that you love being able to take care of you after your surgery, take some time off work if you can. I would eat, lots of healthy foods before your surgery to prep your body, lots of meditation and yoga before your surgery, just to like take care of yourself, because it's a big journey and it's a big decision, but it's like in the blink of an eye, it's like surgery's done and you're on to your whole new like life and this beautiful homecoming to yourself.
Oh,
Um,
I love that.
yeah. And one last piece is allow things to turn out better than you expected.
And what would you say as they're maybe looking for a doctor? What are the things that
Mm.
stand out to you now, especially probably going through the whole journey that you maybe three things that they should look for when they're interviewing surgeons?
Yeah, I'd say look for a surgeon who is really present with you, who you can feel is really dropped in at your consultation. Isn't in a rush, isn't running around, but yeah, a surgeon who feels like very present and safe. And that's number one. Number two, I'd look at the reviews of the surgeon and speak to other women or, lurk their Instagrams or, learn about how their experience was. That's going to be huge. That's going to make you feel really safe and, in your decision for the surgeon you're going to see. And also, aside from like the surgeon, like the office and the personnel and like, the nurses and, the anesthesiologist, all the people that are helping. Yeah. So listen to your intuition and really good to explore your options. I saw Swistun first. I pretty much knew I was going to see him, but I had a different consultation the next day with another surgeon, and it was able to solidify my decision with Swistun. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I think you can learn a lot from, each experience, and if nothing else, like if you don't know who you want, you'll maybe feel it. You'll pick it up in the feeling more than
Yeah,
in the
it's a
logic
feeling.
part.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's like when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for sharing today and,
Mhm.
walking everybody in the audience through this journey you've had. And I love how present you were with yourself and allowing yourself to go through the whole thing and then being brave and sharing it with everybody else in our audience. We really appreciate that. And so everybody in the audience, we will put everything in the show notes, links to, the gallery and information about the explants and capsulectomies and financing and money, all that's in there too. And our patient coordinators are really good with helping you kind of come up with the best way to plan your surgery from the financial standpoint as well. So don't be shy because 1 in 3 of our patients over all the years we've been in business and we've had financing. So take advantage of it if it's something that, you're thinking about. So anyway, thanks again, Caroline. And for everybody in the audience, we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Take a screenshot of this podcast episode with your phone and show it at your consultation or appointment, or mention the promo code podcast to receive $25 off any service or product of $50 or more at La Jolla Cosmetic. La Jolla Cosmetic is located just off the I-5 San Diego freeway in the Zymed building on the Scripps Memorial Hospital campus. To learn more, go to ljcsc.com or follow the team on Instagram at ljcsc. The La Jolla Cosmetic Podcast is a production of The Axis, TheAxis.io.